somebody who served the community for over 20 years as an imam, and then mainly due to the pandemic, working as a marriage counsellor, even though I used to do it before then, but it intensified during this period of COVID and the pandemic. I've seen a lot, as well as my research, which I did on Islamic family law. There's a lot that I can say from an anecdotal perspective, as well as from research perspective. One of the problems that we do have is the understanding of our identity. How much of it is Islamic, how much of it is cultural and due to ethnicity and so on. And when these things don't marry up and so on, that's where we find the conflict. So for example, the role, let's talk about marriage. Somebody wants to get married. As an imam, I deal with this a lot. You have a boy or a young teenager or a young adult, a boy or a girl, they want to marry. They complement each other, personality-wise, look-wise, and so on. There's a lot, they're compatible in many ways. Then they take this to their parents, and then the parents say no, for many reasons. For example, the one you chose is from a different ethnicity. Maybe, for example, in our community, we've still got your siblings to marry off, so we can't marry you off. So we find a lot of these sort of things which are cultural. Islam doesn't say this. Islam rather says that if you find two people they want to marry, then what you should do is get them married, okay? Unless you find a just reason for this. And a just reason is not that the father of the girl just says, I don't like the person, I have the ultimate say, and so on. It doesn't work like that. In the end of the day, once they become mature, baligh, and in this country, in the UK, we say once they become 18 and over, they're independent adults. Even if they live with the parents, they are independent. From an Islamic perspective, they can make their own decisions. So when they come to you and they say they found a suitor, the best thing you can do as a parent, as long as you can't find anything bad in the character trait and so on, then what do? You should facilitate that. Because these two people, if they've found the perfect partner, then what you do, you facilitate it for them so that they can live together. Now, this is some of the problems that I'm dealing with quite a lot, where families, because of the sister Summer mentioned, this sort of cultural perception that ultimately the father has the say, or because of there's certain traits that we can't get you married until you get your education or you get a job and so on. We start putting all of these sort of impediments before they can get married. We've actually gone against the teaching of the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We said that those amongst you that can marry, meaning the youngsters, you should marry. Because it will stop two things, okay? Two things it will stop. Look to this. And that will take away the fitna, the trial and tribulation that we have. One of the things is it will make you aghad lil basar. It will make you lower your gaze. And we all understand Islam. That means that you're just not looking around all the time, fishing around and so on. You lower your gaze, because as human beings, we are sharif. We're better than animals. We just can't give in to carnal instincts all the time. So what do? Is your conduct, male and female, is that you lower the gaze. And that's how you do. And the other one, ahsan lil farj. And you protect your chastity, subhanallah. If we have this sort of attitude in our society, then our youngsters can go out, okay? We're not spying on them like a police state and so on. They're able to conduct themselves because they know, subhanallah, if they find that right person, they should go back to their parents who should be supportive of them and then facilitate that, because the Prophet ﷺ said, get them married young. So that's one of the problems that we find in talking about the youngsters. No doubt the other problem that we have is, for example, when they're married, not youngsters now. I want to talk about focus of people who are married, because as my other role as a marriage counsellor, I deal with people who have been in long-standing marriages. The problems that we find here is two things. Firstly, in the outside world, you may have this sort of like a professional outlook, and the way you present yourself as a professional, whether you're working as a professional, whether it's in medicine, law, or any of those occupations. But when you come home, the home is the private sphere, yes? Nobody actually is going to interfere how you do things. So when we look at marriage, quite often people, they decide how they want to live. Now, sometimes it's spoken, sometimes unspoken. Yeah, automatically somebody assumes this is the role I'm going to take, which is the breadwinner. Then somebody else would take, no, I'm going to be homemaker, and so on. Now, the conflict becomes when somebody suddenly takes a stance and said, no, I'm the breadwinner, and because of this, I'm given all of these rights here. And maybe, for example, if it's the man who say, well, I'm the breadwinner, I bring in the money, you can't go out of the house without my permission. Okay, you can't go and do this job, you can't do this, you can't do that. And we find this. Even, for example, we find the marriage is to a point where now it's irretrievably broken down. And by that we mean they just cannot get on. There's nothing in common. They've tried for a long time. Now, the woman, she wants to be released from this. The man says, no, I have the right to divorce. I'm not going to give it to you. Can you see how? Whereas Islam doesn't say that. Islam says, verily, if you can't get on, so we've gone full circle here. Marriage, trying to get married, being in a marriage, and then trying to get out from a marriage which you're unhappy with. Islam said that al-talaq marratan is twice you say the divorce, and then the third time you go bil ma'ruf, in goodness, you part. Okay, you don't have that ill feeling. It didn't work out. And that's the thing that people don't understand. As a community, here again, culturally, what we try to do is keep these two together, or one party tries to keep the relationship going and it's not working out. And again, this only causes more dhulm, oppression to the people and so on. And so that's something we need to understand. So no doubt we do need to educate our community. We do need to educate your community. We need to stop with all of this sort of cultural practice. Some of it is good, by the way, yes. Some of the cultural practice is very nice, okay. Culture, when you talk about clothing, culture, talk about food and so on. But when we talk about hindering the most basic of things, that people want to be together, to found a family and to live together, and when we start to hinder this, then that's where we find people who go to the deviant paths or deviate from Islam and live outside of wedlock and so on. And that is something that we're told not to do. Wala taqrab zina, don't go near zina. Zina means the glittering. We're naturally going to be attracted to the opposite sex. So what we have to do here is try to facilitate it. And that's where even myself as an imam, I do a lot of work with the community like this, but I also do a lot of work in private with couples and individuals, trying to help them understand that these are the choices that Islam gives you and these are the options that Islam gives you.